Alright, what is up, people? This is Ishbu right here, HHE Ishbu here, coming at you with the combo part of my Garrosh guide. So now, Garrosh, ever since his rework, he no longer pulls with his Q, for those of you who have not been following this, instead knocks up. And this is actually, as much as it's made it harder to play the hero, it's also introduced a lot of interesting combos. So I'm just going to cover all the different combos. And something you're going to notice is, over the course of a game, Garrosh's various combos are actually going to change. Now, for the first 7 levels, they're pretty standard. I'm going to go my standard build. You can find this on HotS.com. It's my standard build. I believe it's named like Stomp the Yard. I'll have it linked in the guide, I'm sure. So, Warbreaker, Indomitable, and Into the Fray. So, as you can see, I do not have the increased throw range at level 1. So, that's very important for this, and I'm not going to take my ult yet. So, previously, the combo before his rework was max range Q and then throw back, walk up and throw back. Something you're going to notice though is if I hit him with the inner radius of it, I have enough time to walk up and throw while they're still stunned. If I hit him with the outer part of this, like the very edge. Also, you're going to notice I have on release casting right now for my Q. This is something I do even in competitive matches as Garrosh. I do not quick cast Garrosh's Q. I find it's much more valuable to be able to see my indicator like this. Anyways, you're gonna notice if I hit him with the outer edge of it, I'm not actually able to get to him before they get out of stun. Now, usually the slow is enough, but against like slippery targets like Tracer and Genji, you actually will not be able to pin them down. Also worth mentioning, doing it this way, there is no follow-up CC out of this. They can then use all of their escape abilities. Li Ming can blink, Genji can E out. This is not how you want to do most combos. Now, you can do this early game, but it's a bit riskier to do. So instead, what you want to do, and obviously I have toggle cooldown, this is try mode for those of you wondering. What you want to do early game is you actually want to try and stay mounted as much as you can. Also, just letting you people see that I do have the talents I just chose. And you'll stay mounted, run up, and then I want to E first, and then Q. If you're going to notice, my E and my Q have almost the exact same range, even without the level 1 talent. So I can actually E, and then immediately Q on landing. If you do it like this, as I said, you usually have to initiate this from mount, but if you do it like this, you are, well, I just messed it up there. You do have to do it max range E every time, or else this is not going to land. But this is a very useful combo. It's going to ensure that the target basically stays wherever you throw, and really make it really easy for your team to set up. Where if you just throw, the enemy can immediately use all their stuff. If you do this, well, okay, this. Sorry, I missed again. As you can tell, it's a little bit hard to do consistently. I do try to practice this a lot to make sure I've done it. So this is something you have to practice if you're going to play Garrosh. If you do this, though, your team has around a full second to react to exactly where you've thrown them to line up their skill shots and all of the stuff that they want to throw. So early game, most of what you want to be doing is this throw combo. You want to walk up E and then Q backwards. Walk up E, Q backwards. Now, this is really good because it not only lets you, let's say that's the enemy team. I'm going to throw this guy a little closer. I could throw him down, say this boss is my team, I could throw him there, or I could throw, if I want to peel for my team, throw him away, and then land a 2-man Q like that. So there's a lot of interesting applications. Early game, however, you're mostly going to be trying to throw into your towers, into your team, as you see this Arthas up here. I'm going to just try and throw him into my towers, and that's going to get the kill. This is how you do, that's how you basically want to play Garrosh for most of the early game. Now, once you hit level 10, you're going to be taking Warlord's Challenge, and this is going to change things up a bit. Now you can actually initiate with your Q and still have a follow-up CC to secure your kills. So taking Warlord's Challenge and nothing else, once again, you see. Now you can add it to the standard combo, which is basically E, Q, and then walk up R. You'll notice R casts in a circle around you, but it's actually a lot bigger of a radius than most people respect. So just throw Q, walk up R. And that's a full CC combo. It's roughly 3 seconds of CC. This is going to be your go-to if the enemy lets you walk up to them and get the kill. It's a lot of CC coming from a single target. Like, 3 seconds of CC is way more than most characters in this game are capable of dealing, or dealing with, to be honest. So that's your going to be go-to pick combo. Warlord's Challenge is on a 50-second CD. You can use this on single targets as much as you want. Don't always be looking for that big, like, massive taunt. Use this to try and isolate targets and just CC them to death, just over and over. Now, as I said, though, you can change things up a bit. If you want to initiate with your Q now, you now have a follow-up CC. So what you have to do is Q first, walk up into throw range, and you'll notice throw range and taunt range are not the same. You cannot actually throw max range and then taunt in the duration. So, trying it right there, you see it missed. What you can, however, do is throw short. So throw within this taunt range, so just throw right over my head, and then taunt when it lands. You can even do it a little longer than I just did it and walk up. I missed it there. Right there. So as you see, if you have to initiate with Q, you can throw... Alright, I'm messing up my combo. Hold on 1 second. Throw, toss short, and taunt. Q, throw short, and taunt. If you want to get the max distance off of this combination, you have to do something slightly different. It lowers the amount of time the enemy remains CC'd, but what you can do is Q, walk up, throw, and as you notice, you can taunt while the person is in midair. This will cause them to land and still be taunted. So just doing it again. This is pretty easy to do. All you have to do is E and then immediately R afterwards. It's really good for locking down targets like Tracer or Genji, as I said, who are going to like mash the recall or mash E or something to get out of these situations. So if you ever just land the Q, walk up, E... well, you have to throw over your head to do this. So walk up, throw. Alright. Walk up, Q, throw taunt in the air, and they land taunted. That's about roughly 2 seconds of taunt right there. It's going to be a little less because they spent some of that duration in the air, but this is really good for the slippery, squishy targets. So later in the game, now you can start initiating things with your Q, whereas before you'd have to EQ first. Obviously, if the enemy still lets you walk up and E first, that's golden, it's even better. But at this point, from this point of the game onwards, you're now looking to start things with your Q to extend your range a little bit, and looking to either do the taunt while they're in the air like that for the clean combo, or do the throw short for the full thing. So those are 2 ways of using Warlord's Challenge. The other one is a little bit more tricky to use, and this is, as I said, early in the game, you're only going to be throwing enemies into your team. Like, everything should be picks. Later in the game, and especially once you take this 13 talent, Defensive Measures, which is, as you see, so Defensive Measures is, and once again, only taking Defensive Measures. Defensive Measures gives you the shield whenever you hit your Q. So there's going to be a lot of times later in the game where you're no longer wanting to throw people into your team. In fact, once you hit 13, I would suggest the majority of your throws actually be away from your team. And the reason basically being, once you hit this point in the game, say this guy right here is a tank and this guy is the enemy's support. What I want to do is walk up, throw the enemy tank onto the enemy support. Okay, well I missed a little bit, I was short on the range. Throw onto the both of them, walk up, taunt both of them, and I've just grouped 2 enemies. Once again, the idea is throw the enemy tank away from you, away from your team down here, onto the enemy backline, and just like that, you've grouped all the enemy for a massive taunt. So as whereas before you were trying to go for pickoffs and isolations, now you can go for these massive plays like this, and suddenly grouping the enemy for all your team's AoE. This is also very useful, as I said, 13. It can be very hard to land the shield breaker or this the defensive measures when you're being pressured, because the enemy's going to be within your range and you're going to be mashing Q, and no one's going to be in your range. So what you do is, if the enemy is within your range, to proc your Q real quick, just throw away, Q, walk away. Easy. Easy, guaranteed shield proc. That's why that EQ combo is so very important. So, as I said, once you hit around 13, most of your combos are going to be throwing people away. Once you hit 16, almost 100% of your combos, frankly, should be throwing people away, except for very small exceptions. Once again, now we have the stun from the throw to guarantee all of this. So it's, once again, throw frontline onto backline, walk up, taunt. Throw frontline onto backline, walk up, taunt. It really is a great tool for team fighting later in the game because it stacks the enemy team and makes them all super vulnerable to AoE as well as to your taunt. This is going to be a really great tool for later in the game, and as well as I said, it's going to start your, it's going to give you your shield. So, once again, later in the game, you can engage combos, throw onto, do all sorts of different stuff. There's a lot of different ways you can use this. I'm not going to cover, obviously, all of them, but this, let me just say creativity is key here. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can throw tanks onto supports. You can just group enemies in general. You can throw enemies that are directly on top of you trying to kill you away to land Qs. You can walk up, land Qs, throw taunt for a pick, all sorts of different things. Now, and then once you hit 20, we're going to be taking this talent, Titanic Might. This doubles the amount of people. So remember that combo I just talked about? But now not just one, I can throw 2 people, and look at that grouping I can get right there. I can group up to 3 people onto one spot for 1 taunt. That's enormous. This talent usually, it can be hard to use, it can be a little intimidating to use, especially because you're only going to be getting single throws a lot of the time. But later in the game, I promise you, you can get some really good things. And similar to the throw taunt earlier, you can get the same thing here. Just throw short, taunt. Or in the same case, throw taunt. Say it still works. A lot of different things you can do. As I said, a lot of different things you can do with this character and a lot of different ways you can apply his abilities. I actually really love it. And I think this is one of the things that makes this character so very fun. But once again, quick recap. Early in the game, let's say this boss is my base. I want to be throwing people towards my base, so I want to walk up E, max range Q. Or if I have to start with my Q because, say, they're like a phoenix or something that's kiting me, Q, walk up, throw them back. Easy. Once I hit level 10, if I can get the walk up, throw, Q, walk up, taunt. Easy kill right there. Provided I can't do that and I have to land my Q to start again, Q, short throw, taunt. Malfurion, get out of here. Get out of here, buddy. Thank you. So, Q, short throw, taunt. I don't want a short throw. I want a max throw because I'm going to get him over a wall or something. Q, throw immediate taunt while they're in the air for max range distance. And then finally, I've hit level 13. I've hit level 16. The team fight phase has happened. The enemy team is always as 5. They're not letting me get these free pickoffs anymore. At this point in the game, once again, shift the mentality. You're not throwing people towards your team, you're now throwing frontliners away from your team. So now, let's say this is their enemy's front line, and that's the enemy's carry. Throw the enemy front line onto the back line, walk up, taunt them both. And resetting these once again. As you can see, the Titanic Might really helps with that. Defensive measures. I'm going to be honestly wanting to use this to start every fight just to get my shield up. It's going to last until I can then, until my Q gets back up, and then I can start another fight. Lots of stuff you can do. Big problem I do see a lot of people struggling with is that mid-game shift in mentality. Early game, look for picks, look for throwing people in. Late game, as a general rule, start looking to throw people away, start looking to peel, start looking to group enemies, start looking for big combos. That's really where Garrosh's team fighting shines rather than that single pick, off. Now, obviously, if the enemy team never groups, don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you've always done. But a lot of people do fail to do that thing, and they'll end up throwing like the enemy ETC directly onto their team for a 5-man mosh. It can be very frustrating to play with. So the character is a bit tricky, but if you keep at it, I'm sure you'll be able to identify when these combos go in. This was just a demonstration of exactly what these combos should look like. And as you saw, I messed them up a bit. They take some practice to do consistently. As I said, every E has to be a max range E. Anything short in the Q will not hit. So just keep practicing and keep putting in the work. This character is pretty difficult, but he's pretty dang fun, and I strongly suggest you keep up with him if you're practicing. So keep going.